Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm so sorry, Kathy, that I was not able to appear on your show yesterday, but actually I think this will work out much better because we have very different styles of baking. You, for example, like to follow the recipe, and I sort of consider the recipe more of a suggestion than an actual rule of law. And so you will see that we're going to find out how big a deal it is how for cardamom buns and whether the recipe is really, as stringent as all that. So here we go. Okay, you mixed your yeast all up in there and after agonizing over the temperature. I microwaved my milk and stuck my washed, sanitized finger in there and thought, yep, that's about right. I figure if it had to be that exact, then Laura Ingalls could not have baked bread. I'm sure she didn't have a thermometer in her rucksack. So I figure as long as it feels not too hot, it's probably okay. Also, the directions did say just to sprinkle it on top and not mix it all in. So for the sake of comparison, I didn't mix it. I just did what the directions say. And you can see it's already starting to get a little bit of a bubble on the edges. So I think it probably wasn't too hot, but hey, we'll see. Also, I had a little problem with the cardamom. Oh, I wanted to say, do you have any idea how hard it is to find yeast during this COVID crisis? No joke, but I did find some. That's supposed to be 2 tablespoons of cardamom. Well, my tablespoon's bigger than my cardamom jar, and I had a little bit of an accident. So that might be more like 3 tablespoons, but I love cardamom, so we're just gonna go with it. And there's my melted butter. So back in a few.
Oh, good grief, Rachel. I was watching the process of your recipe lack of following, and I'm horrified. I've got to get in touch with you quickly. I've got to interrupt my getting ready for the day. That's not 2 tablespoons. It's 2 teaspoons of cardamom.
Did I say tablespoons? Because I did put teaspoons of cardamom in. It was tablespoons of sugar that the recipe said to add to the dough. So I had put the 5 tablespoons of sugar in the dough, but then I did use a teaspoon for cardamom. Although it did cross my mind to use a tablespoon instead of 2 teaspoons, which would be 1 extra teaspoon. But then I decided against that, and then it looks like I might have ended up almost doing that anyway. So it wasn't tablespoons. It's not that far off the mark.
Well, Rachel, let me just say, for an Enneagram 1, this is going to be a long day. Me trying to keep my wits about me while you are not following directions. Oh my goodness. But let me just say that I love cardamom too. And this has plenty. You've got 2 teaspoons in the dough. You've got another 2 teaspoons, as I recall, in the filling. And then you've got another teaspoon in that glaze that goes over the top. Follow the directions. How'd you ever get to be a lawyer? I'm baffled.
Okay, so I will maybe use less cardamom in the glaze or in the filling than I otherwise would have to make up for my faulty measuring. But I really don't think I went over that much. I really don't think I did. It'll be close. Also, there is this great quality, it's fantastic quality to have in life called thinking outside the box. So they value that in the law. In fact, I just had a great idea. Maybe I'll make a cinnamon filling and still have the cardamom glaze, and then obviously it's in the dough. Or lemon filling.
I am never going to get ready today. I'm just beside myself. No to the cinnamon. Even though Carl thought there was cinnamon in it, that's the cardamom. No, it would kill the deal. what is so wonderful about these buns is that florally, it just takes you out to a meadow. Cardamom. Forget the lemon, forget the cinnamon, stick with just pure cardamom. And when you eat these things, they peel around the way they're braided, and it's just, in the midst of a pandemic, we need a meadow and cardamom, pure cardamom, on the lemon, on the cinnamon.
And we're back. And while the dough was proving, does dough prove? Yeah, the dough was rising, proving that it is in fact dough that will rise. Anyway, I got a shower. I did a workout and I got a shower. And put some makeup on. So yeah, so this could be before and after in so many different ways. Okay, the dough is kind of sticky, and I hate working with anything that has to be rolled. I hate it. I'm not much of a baker. I do enjoy cooking. Baking is not so much my thing. But therefore, I did not measure, because if it's wrong, I don't care. I'm not gonna re-roll, and I'm done. I'm not doing that. So, actually I will measure just for kicks, but I'm not gonna change it. See how far off we are. I'm not gonna change it. And then we'll go from there. Okay, so here's my rolled out dough. And I think it's supposed to be, what did it say? It's supposed to be 14 by 20. Jonathan, how far are we apart here?
60.
Oh, we're 21. Can you see this?
Oh.
Can you film this here? See, at the widest part of this rectangle-ish, we're 21, and then on this side we're 19, folks. We've almost got a square. So instead of 14 by 20, we're gonna do 19 by 21. Let's see how that works. Well, that was pretty much a disaster. I figured out, I think, what happened, and the dough is just too wet. It's too loose. It said 3.5 to 4 cups of flour. I probably had closer to 3.5 than I did 4. And I thought after the end of the 15-minute kneading period, when my bowl wasn't clean and shiny like yours was, Kathy, that I might have a problem. But what are you going to do then? It's all kneaded up. It seemed like it was too late to add more flour then, so I just hoped it would kind of resolve. Didn't resolve, so I couldn't work with it. It was so sticky. The strips were breaking. They were hard to even cut in the first place. So I did the best I could. Here, I'll show you what they look like. So they're gonna be huge because they're supposed to have another prove for another hour and a half, and they're gonna be huge. So we're gonna have massive cardamom buns, yay. They should still taste good though. I'm confident they will taste good.
Okay, tutorial 101 here. Just to interject in case anybody else is going to attempt these. I think this is the reason to weigh the flour as opposed to just measuring it in a measuring cup. A lot of times you can think that you're getting 3.5 or 4 cups of flour, but you know, if it's put in there lightly and it's feathery and all that, you're not really getting as much flour as you really need for the recipe. So weighing it. Actually, y'all bought me that scale. Do you remember that? Years ago, you bought me this scale, and I was on Weight Watchers and was measuring my portions. And that's how I have that scale, and I use it all the time. Anyway, but you'll be okay. But that is probably why it was sticky, because mine was not at all sticky. Mine was so stiff, and I did wind up using the whole 4-cup equivalent, not the 3.5. But it did clean my bowl out and wonk my bowl all over the cabinet top, and made me have to have a new mixer, and it's supposed to arrive next week. I'm pretty excited. There can be joy in a pandemic, but I think you're going to be okay. They will taste good. They will taste good. Watch the temperature of your oven. You know, I did mess up and I burned that on the bottom. Back off on that temperature, and you're going to need to be concerned that they're done inside if they're big. I didn't even count mine, but I had a bunch, and it didn't look like you had quite so many. But that's probably because you got tired of fooling with that dough. It was only supposed to be 3/4 of an inch wide in those strips. But I can see that, yeah, that stickiness caused you a problem. I would back off, like Carl said, 350 degrees. You want it to be initially hot to help them raise, but then you might want to back off to a lower oven and cook them longer. They should be ideally, and you can tell this from Ree's picture on the original recipe, crisp, and tender, little tiny little pieces, and you pick them apart and eat them. It reminds me a little bit like a funnel cake, how it's little pieces, and I like to play in my food anyway, and they're crisp and yet tender. They are the perfect food. Matter of fact, is it anywhere near? Yes, it's 11:15. It's close enough to lunchtime. That's what I'm having for lunch. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and get that going. I'm pretty excited.
Listen, I am as big of a fan of measuring flour and sugar as the next person. But my issue is, if the person whose recipe you're using, oh, look at my, by the way, that's 0 point yogurt, 0 point blueberries, and some granola. That's not 0 points, but yum. Anyway, if the person whose recipe you're following did not measure their flour, then how can you be sure what precise measurement they got? So I figure, guesswork anyway.
I hate to take issue when it's your birthday. Today's your birthday. Happy birthday, Rachel. But who had beautiful dough that rolled out beautifully and who had a sticky mess? I mean, just asking. Happy birthday.
Thank you for the happy birthday. Yes, your dough was beautiful and mine was sloppy and awful. However, you did say you chose the 4-cup equivalent, and I chose the 3.5 cup equivalent. So maybe, had I measured 4 cups instead of 3.5, my dough would also have been beautiful. Also, I mean, I'm actually not arguing for the sake of argument, because I do believe that it makes more sense to weigh it. It's going to be more accurate. I believe that. But if we were following American-made recipes, they did not weigh them, or they would have written that in the recipe. They did the cups. So not arguing for the sake of argument. I'm legitimately asking if on Food Network, Giada or whoever says you spoon the flour in and level it off, and that's how they do it, then if you're doing something different, I don't know. I don't know. I just hate making bread. Although I am rewatching the British baking show during this epidemic, and I'm gonna try baguettes. I bought fancy organic King Arthur bread flour, and I'm going to use that fancy bread flour and try and make baguettes maybe tomorrow.
I thought for a minute she was going to cry. I feel like a dog, and it's her birthday. No, she's a lawyer, and she's a good lawyer, and she knows how to get me in my place. And you're right, Rachel, and I've got to bear in mind you are the guest on my show. I bet Trisha Yearwood didn't have this trouble. But it's her birthday, and yeah, I see your point, truthfully. I see your point. And baguettes. I'm up for it. I've also got a recipe for cast iron English muffins. I love English muffins. You hang in there with the bread. Bread's one of my most fun things to make. It relieves stress and tension to get in and work that dough. And when you taste these, you're going to change your mind. Yeah, it's worth it. Sloppy mess, no sloppy mess. It's still worth it, and they're going to be delicious. Trust me.
My little helper is we're going to glaze the top.
This first?
Yep, just all over. Just brush it all over. And then go to the next one. Is that fun?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I just noticed that this recipe says serves 16. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. So I have made 13 buns and it should have been 16. And the reason I did that is because the dough was so sticky and sloppy, I couldn't get it cut in thin enough pieces. So they ended up being bigger. And because the dough was too wet and they were too big, they really went splat. So they're kind of flat. However, they smell amazing. And I used 400 degree temperature instead of 425 since Kathy didn't have such
Mommy.
great experience. So I think those are okay. I'm just having a discussion with my daughter about whether it's appropriate to have sweet things for lunch. And I said, it's my birthday, and on your birthday you can. So here's what they look like. This was actually one bun that came apart in two because it's not very, looks like it might almost be uncooked, but it actually is cooked. And you know, I'm one who really likes the gooey part of a cinnamon roll anyway, the middle one. And these are delicious. Super, super good. I highly recommend you make these. However, learn from my mistake and go with 4 cups of flour instead of 3.5. And if you are measuring, then go with whatever the 4-cup measurement is by weight, because I don't happen to know that. But super yummy. Thanks, Kathy, for a wonderful recipe.
There you have it. The testimonial. I love it. And on her birthday, I'm so glad she got a great Swedish cardamom bun to celebrate her birthday. I just wish I was there with you, Rachel, to celebrate you. And I hope that more of you will attempt this recipe. You might think it's a challenge, but what else are you gonna do? We're in a pandemic. Go for it. Try it. Try something new and different and get your hands in that dough. And if you do, we would like documentation. Send us a picture of your buns and a testimonial just so that we can see and everybody else can enjoy what you're doing. We're trying to stay connected. In this time when there feels like there's no peace, we do have peace. We have the peace and the love of Christ, and we just want to spread that and share that with each of you and to love on you and just to celebrate the good gifts that we have in Him. The gifts of family and of food and of togetherness. We're getting a lot of togetherness within our families, and we love that. And so, peace out.